Hey, das sind Wünsche, das ist Quatsch, das ist nicht wahr.
Kevin Olivia.
En vivo, G4 presents.
Hey guys, I'm Chris Hardwick. So, as you know, Attack of the Show is coming to an end. I know. But today we're going to reminisce about some of our smarter, more forward-thinking moments. I officially joined the show in 2007, and I really actually credit AOTS for waking me up to the idea that nerd culture was not a niche thing anymore. It was for the longest time when I first started working in this business, and no one else in the television landscape was doing this kind of programming. The show was way ahead of its time, and I think continues to be so. So, in this spirit, let's take a look back on some of the moments when the greatest minds of our time and generation joined our stage. This is Attack of the Show Visionaries. We're going to kick things off with a lighthearted discussion about faith and whether or not God exists. How could that go wrong? Here's a 2011 interview with Penn Jillette, a self-proclaimed fan of the AOTS since the early tech TV days. He's going to talk about being an atheist and what he discovered when writing his book, God, No!
Joining me now, master illusionist and the author of the upcoming book, God, No! Signs You May Already Be an Atheist and Other Magical Tales. Penn Jillette is here!
What a festive group.
You're not this is an important point to make. You say that you're not anti-Christianity. You say you're just anti-faith in general. You just sliced a PA open. It's a PA, it doesn't matter. You say that you're anti-faith. Why
well,
is that
there's a wonderful quote that just said, faith is all that matters in religion, and faith absolutely is trying to be kept out of science. And one of the things I learned doing our show BS on Showtime was how wonderful American Christians are, especially the fundamentalists and so on. You would get these wonderful letters from people who, after we would do these very strong atheistic shows, these beautiful letters about appreciating our passion and appreciating the marketplace of ideas and all the ideas and thought about it, and then sending us Bibles and proselytizing. And one of the reasons I wrote the book was I was so thrilled and kind of delighted with people caring about me enough to proselytize. I just wanted to enter the marketplace of ideas and get my point of view. But I think that the idea of faith, the idea that you're supposed to believe in things that you can't demonstrate to others is, it leaves out the rest of the world. I mean, one of the things that's wonderful about a shared reality, proving something to someone else, is if we're having an argument over whether something exists or not, and we follow the ground rules, then we are sharing the world. We are together exploring the world. As soon as
I think religion ignores those ground rules?
It ignores those ground rules, because then I can say, I have this faith in my heart, I believe it, I can't prove it to you, I just believe it, which is a really roundabout way to say those two magic words that aren't Merry Christmas. You know, it says drop dead. It says go away. I believe this in my heart and I won't prove it to you. And the wonderful thing about love and humanity and sharing is proving things to each other, the marketplace of ideas, Jefferson idea.
So now I consider myself an agnostic, which I thought was interesting.
Then you're wrong.
No, well, that's what's so interesting. I love this. That it's like atheists love this. Well, it's almost as if you're saying there's proof that a higher being doesn't exist. But
what does the word agnostic mean? What does the Gnostic root mean?
Can someone Google that for me? Because
what it means is no. So what you're saying is it's a term that was coined by Thomas Huxley, who was Darwin's pit bull, and he did all the fights for Darwin. And what it is it can't be known. So atheist is you don't believe, and agnostic is you don't know.
Correct.
But those aren't the same terms. Agnostic answers the epistemological question, and atheist answers the theological question. So I ask you, do you believe in God? I have not asked you, do you think it's possible to know whether there's a God or not? If I ask you...
Well, that was the question I would answer. When people ask me my faith, I say, I don't believe it's possible to know.
Absolutely. Right. And once you don't believe it's possible to know, you are atheist. You're not agnostic. Agnostic is one level, which everybody is. Everybody in the world is agnostic except for maybe the Pope and me. But everybody else is agnostic.
It's funny. You actually say that you think...
the Pope might be lying.
You also say that people who say they believe typically don't actually believe.
That's the thing. Every time a religious person, you know, there's this expression, there are no atheists in foxholes. There's nothing but atheists in foxholes. If you really believe in God and he can do anything and he's watching over you, why would you duck when there are bullets flying? It's his will. Why would you put on seatbelts? Why would you stop at a red light? Everybody lives their life as though they were atheists. And to finish the agnostic thing, if you don't know, you don't believe. Believing is active. When you say, I don't believe in God...
Is it possible to believe that you don't know?
Sure, but when you say, there's no God, I don't believe in God, when you're saying that, you're not saying it's impossible that there could be a God. You're not saying there might not be evidence tomorrow. You're not saying that you have enough information to make that decision. You're saying right now, I don't believe. So I'm going to ask you, are there 4 sleeping bags in the trunk of your car right now?
3 of them are occupied by dead hookers, yes.
You don't know.
Right.
And if you don't know, you don't believe it.
I guess for me, I say at some point I'm a man of science. I try to fancy myself a man of science. I know 3 things about it.
You won the Nobel Prize what year?
1987.
Okay. So
yeah, it was a long while ago.
That.
I'm sure the books have been updated.
But you look so cute in the tux.
I was really
so cute in the tux.
So ill-fitting. But I go like, okay, if at some point I'm supposed to believe fundamentally that there is a God, there's a higher being, there's a power. Maybe it's a bearded dude with sandals. I don't know that. I don't necessarily think that version exists. But if I'm supposed to believe in this Big Bang theory, these gases are swirled around, they smattered into each other. How do those gases get there? At some point, you don't know. You have to believe.
There's the prime mover. And at some point, if you say you do believe in God and God started this all and it wasn't the Big Bang, you have the same problem, just one level back.
Right, exactly. We'll never know.
We'll never know. But while you don't know, and I don't know, what do you believe? What's your default setting?
See, I believe I don't know.
Right,
which is,
you believe you don't know, and once you say you don't know, you don't believe, you're an atheist.
I think there's a fundamental difference between saying I believe I don't know versus there is no. That's the terminology I can do.
But I want to talk about
pornography now.
Oh, good.
Because we're almost out of time, and you give a name check to your book, which I think is fantastic. You recount a tale where you went to a gay spa and had some of the gayest experiences I've ever heard
but also,
in San Francisco, but never actually had gay sex.
I tried. There's an expression, he couldn't get laid in a woman's prison with a fistful of pardons.
Right.
There was a time in our history, in the early 80s when there were gay bathhouses in San Francisco where they, and this was all said by everybody, including the gay population of San Francisco, that those people in the bathhouses would have sex with anyone.
Right.
I'm here to tell you, they would not have sex with me. I told my girlfriend, I'm going to go to a gay bathhouse. She said, are you trying to find out if you're gay, trying to sell something? I said, no. One guy that I met said, it's hard to live in a straight world when you're gay. And I said, I don't know. I wouldn't be bothered by people having gay sex
His argument was it's hard to live in that world because there's people making out and public displays of affection everywhere.
And my feeling was that wouldn't bother me. So I went to, I believe, the gayest place on earth, which straight...
It's California Adventure.
Yes, exactly. In one sense, it's California Adventure. In the other sense, it was club baths in San Francisco. So I went and spent a whole evening, and I was kind of thinking that I didn't want to misrepresent myself and have to turn people down. Turned out, after 6 hours, I had not turned one person down. And so I was actually cruising. But it turns out, if you want to find somebody, if you want to say, these gay men will have sex with anything at all, this is what they will not have sex with. And the amazing thing is, for whatever reason, women have had sex with me. I am a married man with children. So it's not human beings.
I love that you went from I'm worried about breaking hearts to you put a giant "it's open" sign blinking neon on you, and no one came.
Sure. And
we're out of time. We're out of time. Penn.
I even had a little sign that said "permanent damage, okay." I tried everything and just failed.
People have got to pick up the book. It is a hilarious and fascinating read. I love your viewpoints on the world. I wish we had time to get to the TSA and everything else. But, but Penn, absolute pleasure to chat with you.
You're an atheist.
When we return, we're going to have more of the smartest episodes of Attack of the Show you will ever see. Again, including a visit from Bill Nye, the Science Guy.
I love him so much.
We'd like to introduce Attack of the Show's couch sidekick.
That's right. Alf was booked, so we have our backup. He is the co-founder of Apple Computer, and he is officially joining the AOTS team today. Here he is, Steve Wozniak!
Yeah!
how's it going, buddy?
Hey, I'm ready to laugh. Let's do it.
In September of 2012, it was reported that Bill Nye the Science Guy said, "Creationism is bad for kids." Later that year, he came on to Attack of the Show to talk about the controversy that sparked and why America should be proud of our scientific record. Remember, Bill Nye was the first guy to make bow ties cool.
Our next guest believes in some crazy voodoo magic thing they call science.
Evolution is the fundamental idea in all of life science. And I say to the grown-ups, if you want to deny evolution, that's fine. But don't make your kids do it, because we need them.
Bill Nye!
Yes. Thank you all. Crazy as cookies.
So we saw a clip from this video that you made.
Now, you say I made. I was there being interviewed about a whole bunch of other stuff, some science education issues. And
Well, all we care about is the controversial stuff.
Yeah, I know. And so they asked me this company, can I say the other company on this network? Big Think, asked me about creationism, and it's something of deep concern to me, creationism, because it's holding us back.
And in the video, you say because it's incompatible with what we know to be true in the world. And so, let me ask you this: is creationism is it always incompatible with evolution and with science?
So far, and we're using, look, just because the hair-splitting people be out there putting this on the internet, the word creationism, as used in the United States, is this belief that the first couple pages of the Bible, as translated into English from some ancient languages, is literally true. That the Earth is literally less than 10,000 years old. That the moon literally creates its own light instead of reflecting sunlight. And that those things are not right. That's not right. So let go, people.
You're totally wrong, I guess. The moon creates its own light, Bill. Doesn't it?
How are we doing on time?
But the video got a lot of heat.
I know, man, a couple million views.
And were you surprised?
That's good. Yeah, I'm very surprised, because I did the thing, just if those of you watching this live, what is today, August 30th, 2012, I did it in June, almost May. And so it sat there, it languished all that time until someone had the brilliant marketing idea. No, listen to me. Okay, here's what we're going to do. It was the same video, but they put creationism is bad for kids, which I didn't literally say, but I'm not in a position.
You basically said it. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you said creationism is bad for kids, Bill Nye.
Yeah.
I don't want to put the words in your mouth.
But I mean, I'll put them in now. Yeah, it's bad. And, and the reason it's bad, I was born in the U.S. I don't know any better. Okay, so I am...
The U.S. or Kenya, Bill? With these crazy socialist Marxist ideas of yours.
Let me tell you what else. I don't know. Okay? People give me some paperwork. But at this point in our story, I'm like 4.5. I look at my feet imprints. Are they mine? You know, I take people's word for it, all right? No,
faith-based education is what I hear you promoting right now. You're taking their word for it.
Let's not lose the thread.
All right.
We want the United States. We're on television right now. We have lights. We have all these this wonderful flooring material. All right. None of this would be here without science. None of this would be here without engineers who understood how to manufacture things at a reasonable cost so that this fabulous network could have these things here. And this goes back a couple of centuries with the United States. I mean, you start with Ben Franklin and Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Alva Edison, George Washington Carver, the guys who get all these vaccines, Salk, and now you got your Billy Bob Gates and your Mark Zuckerberg. These people are innovators. They understand science. They use science to make things and solve problems. That's what we need.
Right.
If you have a worldview that is wrong or incompatible with everything that we can observe in the universe,
you end up with the Sistine Chapel or something stupid that.
No, as a matter of fact, in that example, in the example of the Sistine Chapel, it's the Catholic Church accepts evolution nominally. They accept that there's life elsewhere in the universe. They don't fight this battle. No, it's a unique, very, very small group that's quite vocal.
And there was a Gallup poll I saw. 46% of Americans believe in creation.
Yeah, so I'm open-minded, of course, and skeptical, but I wonder about the phrasing of that question. 50% of people don't believe in science. I mean, it's...
You don't buy it?
Well, it's troubling. Because the United States is so good at science. People throw around the term Silicon Valley all the time. Those are all engineers. Those are all math and science people.
So we hear about creationism. We also hear about climate change as being controversial.
Yes.
And why is it? Why are these things so controversial in any way? Why can't people just accept the science?
Well, if I were king of the funnest, and I'm not. So I think for most people it's just it's unbelievable. It's literally incredible. That is to say, you are a senator from Oklahoma, you grow up in wide open space, your neighbors are really far away from you, and you literally can't imagine that people could change the climate of a whole planet. However, consider this following, if you would. Please, consider the following. If you go back to when I was a kid, there were 3 billion people in the world. I remember when it became 3 billion, around 1965. And then now there's 7 billion. There used to be 300 parts per million of carbon dioxide in the world, like shortly after World War II. Now there's 400. Right. So it's not just that there's a lot of people and there's a lot of carbon dioxide and methane and other greenhouse gases. It's that it's going so fast. Right. This is the thing, this is the key, everybody, is the speed has never been this high.
So things are changing. We're seeing sort of climate evolution, so to speak, at work.
So all these people living on a pretty small planet, and if you look at the Earth from outer space, the atmosphere is this little thing. It's like the layer of varnish on the globe, as the saying goes. So these people, among which we are whom, seek, are changing the world. And so we want to address this right away. It's serious business. It affects everybody in the world because...
we all live in the environment.
That's right. We all share the atmosphere. You can't get away from that. We're all share the air.
On that note, thank you, Bill Nye, the science guy. Always informative.
Next time we've got to be funnier.
Still to come, James Cameron, who took on Titanic, takes on Drunkle Ted and an audience full of camera geeks. Stick around.
There is one guy in the house, which means the studio, who knows about tech.
Thank you.
It's got to be...
Me.
No. The co-founder of Apple was our new sidekick.
Okay, I gotta give it up for Waz. Yeah, Waz. Waz, what do you think about that Toshiba notebook?
All I can say is I'm ready for some pie. Am I right, Olivia?
Oh, Steve. You say the craziest things.
Zing, zang, zong.
Wow.
High five.
When the batteries in your flashlight die, you dig through your junk drawer and replace them. When the batteries on the Hubble run down, Mike Massimino digs through NASA's junk drawer and then rockets into friggin' space to replace them. He is better than you are.
Joining me now, the lead astronaut on the STS-125 mission and the star of IMAX Hubble 3D, Mike Massimino is here, everybody. How are you, sir?
Thanks for having me.
So absolute pleasure and honor and privilege to have you here.
It's my pleasure.
Is that a common problem? You can throw a tie on the spacewalking suit, but you can't take advantage of the space undies and Barneys, or...
That's right. Yeah, it has limitations. It has limitations. The suit works fine in space, but it's not necessarily the most comfortable thing, but it works well.
So, you know, the NASA gave us Velcro, but they still haven't given me permission to soil myself during a live interview.
Yeah, no, well, you can always wear the diaper.
But yeah,
you can always do that.
Yeah, cross country too.
Yeah.
Another story. Let's talk about Hubble and IMAX in 3D because it is tough to compete for mindshare these days, especially with the kids. I know lax marijuana laws in this country mean it's going to be sold out for weeks because we will sit and watch anything if it's shiny and in 3D and high def. And the ADD generation loves the reflection. But I think this is one of those films that could finally reinvigorate the public and the youth and get them thinking that oh my God, space really is awe-inspiring again.
Yeah, I hope so. And it's the closest thing to being there. You know, we get to go, we get to see these wonderful things, and it's hard to describe and show. We can take pictures and video from the cabin, but when you get to see it on the big screen in 3D, it reminds me, it brings back my memories. And it allows, yeah, it's as close as you can get, and your memories fade. So getting to see it makes me feel like I'm there again, and allows me to share it with my family and friends, and I think people are really going to enjoy seeing it.
Audiences may actually mess themselves because they feel like they're on that spacewalk.
Yeah, maybe we should include with the glasses, we should include the diaper.
Just hand them out as you go.
That's what we should try, maybe.
I would agree. Yeah. Although, don't take them back at the end of the viewing like they do the glasses.
That's right. You got to make the distinction.
For them to keep.
Yeah, keep going with it.
How difficult was the mission? I mean, first of all, what was wrong with the telescope in the first place? Because we were still getting imagery from the Hubble, right?
Yeah, it was working pretty well, but parts wear out. It's just like any other machine. Things are going to wear out, and it needed new batteries. It had the same batteries. It wasn't little double A's. They're gigantic batteries, right? Big batteries, but the same ones that it launched with 20 years ago. So it was time to replace those. These gyroscopes, which pointed very well, they wear out because they spin for a long time. We had to replace those, and then we upgrade stuff. Think about your digital cameras, right? When we started with them years ago to what they are now, how more powerful they are. Same thing with the cameras on Hubble. You know, the technology has gotten better, so we wanted to upgrade its technology. So it's kind of like an overhaul and an upgrade. And
you're going up there, you're checking the oil, your hand cranking the battery
more or less,
again,
making sure, exactly. Yeah. Get it all going, make sure everything is just the way it should be.
Is that easy? I mean, why don't you could like vacuum pack a Geek Squad guy from Best Buy.
Well, that's what we did.
Up there,
we're kind of like that.
How difficult is it? Because I can't imagine when they designed the telescopes, did they know that this sort of routine maintenance would be happening years and years later?
Yeah, this is the interesting thing about Hubble, is that all these instruments we put on today, they didn't have those in mind necessarily when they launched it 20 years ago. So it was made so that it could be serviced by the space shuttle. Launched on the space shuttle, and they knew they were going to send up crews. We had 5 servicing missions. We were the last one. But 5 crews went up there to help invigorate it, repair it, and so on, and you could bring the new technology with you. So it was made to be serviced.
How does going into space change you? I mean, aside from the superpowers you get from the radiation and whatever that... I imagine you got something cool going on, but I mean, really, because you say that seeing this film is the closest you can get to describing it and feeling like you're there, but emotionally, like, how does it actually change you?
The view of the Earth is what gets you, particularly from a spacewalk, when you're not looking through a window and you're out there in your little bubble of a helmet and you can see everything, and the planet is this gigantic round. It takes up your full view, but you see this gigantic planet that we live on.
This flat disk floating in space.
It's not flat.
Okay, all right, okay. We could debate this for hours.
You're going to say, no, it really is round, actually. We've proven that by seeing it. It's this big round thing that's up there, and I guess what my perspective on the Earth changed. Because you look at it and say, man, this isn't the Earth that we know. I drove over here in a car today. You know, we go to a ball game, play your video games, whatever. That's like the Earth, we go to the grocery store. But it is a planet out there in all this chaos that's going on. You can see the Earth here, and I can turn my head and see the moon, and I can turn my head and see the stars, and we're out there in the middle of all of it. The Hubble is showing us what else is around us, but we are all space travelers. And that's how it's kind of changed my view of where we are.
I just hate, like, I can't go 2 cities away for relaxation and without feeling bummed that I'm coming home to L.A. I can't imagine the feeling when you're coming back down from space, like you're going to have that Hurt Locker moment in the supermarket where you're like, oh, they're selling space toys. Yeah, I was there, jerks. Some kids whining for something does it make the everyday sort of the drudgery of life?
And you're coming back from this great trip, and you come home, you pull into the driveway, and I'm like, how did those shingles come off the roof? Who left this? When did this happen? Well, anybody been cleaning the pool? I can tell my kids, can anybody take these leaves out of the pool?
All right, I'm going on a mission in the deep end to fix the filter basket. Let's go.
Exactly. This is what happens, though. But you're actually glad to be home. We were glad that we did our job and the Hubble was going to work. And you're glad to make it back because you knew you had to come back eventually. So it's a little bittersweet, but the memories are so wonderful. It makes you want to go back.
And I hope that this film changes the public mindset. It fascinates me. I can't wait to see it, and I can't thank you enough for coming on, Mike.
I appreciate your interest. Thank you so much.
When we come back, billionaire playboy Mark Cuban reveals whether he's the real Batman. Spoiler, he is not, but he's done a lot of really cool stuff.
Don't go anywhere. Attack of the Show will be right back.
I don't know sports too much, but I just found out that Mark Cuban is not actually Cuban, which I don't get it. But anyway, he owns the Dallas Mavericks, Landmark Theaters, Magnolia Pictures, and is also the chairman of the cable network Access TV. And in his 2010 interview, he talks about what human beings can expect in the evolution of television viewing.
Joining me now, you know him from Entourage, Mark Cuban!
Whoa!
what's up, Jeff?
All right, sir.
I kicked Wayne Newton's ass. I didn't care if he was 75 years old.
Do you just see resumes and go, all right, I want that on mine, and go, I'm going to just add acting and tequila investments and skydiving?
Yeah.
And, when are you going to open a roller disco? I think it's the last.
You missed it, right? You know?
It's the last piece of uncharted territory.
You know, everybody's got. I don't want to be 95 years old and look back and say, "Damn, why didn't I do that?" You know, why wasn't I drinking tequila and Entourage? You know, why was I dancing?
That is true.
So I went for it, and so you got to have fun.
Of course, of course. Well, let's have some fun now and pontificate madly on the future of television.
Yep.
Will we even call it television in the future, or is
like
that
5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years?
In my heart, I want it to be 5 years. I know it's going to be 75 when Skynet takes over and makes it happen.
I'm going to tell you exactly what the future of TV is.
Oh, great. Okay.
It's TV.
Go on.
Serious. I mean, look, it's easy. It works, right? You still drive cars, you still fly planes, you know, still eat carrots and tomatoes. It works.
But now they're genetically modified. There's no actually.
Well, that's true.
There's no carrot in my carrot.
Right? They got better. Your HDTV's got bigger. You know, there'll be more interactivity. There'll be more things to do. But you're just going to watch TV. You know why? Because it's easy. It's the path of least resistance. The older you get, the less you want to work. You want to put your hand in your pants. You want to have your beer. You want to hit the clicker.
Sure.
Right? You know, you don't want to work to watch TV. So that's why it's going to be TV.
So we're all just going to be Al Bundy with widgets, is what you're saying.
Yeah, hopefully Kelly right here. Yeah.
Exactly. So, I mean, you know, but you talk about the interactivity. Obviously, you wrote an interesting blog post that said basically if you're 30 and older, your media consumption habits don't matter.
Right.
So the tweens, the Bieber generation, if you will, are they going to want their TV in full 3D with widgets and a chat and photos coming in?
They just want to geek out, right? You just want to be whatever cool. You know, every generation of kids has got something that's unique, you know. Going back to the first color TV, the first Walkman, the first everything, right?
Slap bracelets, acid wash jeans.
Whatever it works, right? Yeah. And so everybody wants what's cool. And so what's cool now is going to be old news for Dad, you know, 15 years and 20 years, and you won't even think about it. So every generation's got its own cool thing, but at some point you get a job, you get a family, you don't want to have to think about, like we were talking before, you don't want to have to think about working to watch TV or you're working for your entertainment.
Right. Yeah.
And so
I used to have hours to go make sure I didn't pay for anything, and now I just want content to come to me, and I'm actually willing to give you money for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, you know, first we duped cassette tapes, right? Then you were duping your CDs, right? And then you're going to Napster, and then LimeWire, and then whatever else, right?
I never used Napster. I didn't know it was
I stole everything I could freaking find, right?
Did you really?
Why not? You know, because it was cool. You're on there trying everything.
Sure.
And you want to learn it all. And so, but then at some point you run out of time, like you said, and your time is more valuable than the 99 cents is on iTunes or whatever. And that's what's going to happen on television. You're not going to want to work to say, okay, let me search through YouTube. What are you going to search for? I don't know. There's got to be something cool there. But then there'll be some smart companies that come out that'll be recommendation engines.
Of course.
That'll help you along. But it's still at the same time, you know, look at music, right? Music, anybody with a cassette record, anybody with a Mac can record any song they want, right? Sure. And then put it out there. But the hard part isn't making it. It's not even making good music. The hard part's selling it. Because you're one of 10 zillion songs out there. And now when you go on YouTube, I'm betting 99.99% of the YouTube videos don't have more than 20 people that watch them. So you can have all the great content in the world, but no one's going to do the work to find it. So you got to spend a ton of money to market it.
We are absolutely out of time, but I just need a one word here.
Yeah.
Who is going to own the game? When I pay my $50 a month for a media pass, that is, I mean, owning media is going away. We know that. So it's any song, any movie, any game on demand. Who's going to own it? Is it going to be Apple, Google, Microsoft, you?
To be determined. I really don't think we know yet.
Pick a winner right now. My stock portfolio is hurting. So just give me some hope.
Damn. Me then.
Yes! Yes! I'll invest in you, Mr. Cuban. Mark Cuban, everybody!
There's so many fans of the show community here in the OTS offices. You'd think we'd actually recruited our interns from Greendale. Turns out that's not a real place. In early 2012, when creator Dan Harmon was unceremoniously booted from his job as creator of the show, he was pretty tight-lipped about what went down. This interview with Mark Maron was the first time he actually talked about it. It was really interesting because no one had heard anything from this guy before then, and Mark really pulled out of him what happened from being fired from NBC.
All right, folks, please welcome one of the most notable unemployed men in the country right now, Dan Harmon.
Thank you.
And for the last 4 years, you were the community guy, the creator of Community.
The creator.
The mastermind.
Yes.
Did you see it coming that you were going to be like fired?
I always joked about it.
Yeah.
Maybe they got the idea from me. I always said, these guys are going to fire me. I know it.
They stole your idea
They can't fire you. But I was like, no, they're going to fire me. They hate me. To people who work above me, I am a liability that isn't worth the benefit. So
what does that mean?
Low-rated show. It's not generating much revenue.
But anybody who looks at that show, even I guess you're asking a lot for an executive to say, like, hey, let him go. He's an artist.
Right, exactly. And they do that. NBC was a network that's in that business. You know, they're in the Emmy
TV business.
They respect the idea of it being a critical darling as opposed to a ratings juggernaut. I mean, they have to kind of be in that business, especially at 8 o'clock on Thursday night, which is where we were. We were getting clobbered by Big Bang Theory and American Idol. And
Did that bother you?
No. I aspire to mainstream success. Television is a populist, derivative, democratic medium. You're supposed to make a hamburger that everyone wants in their mouth. That's when you know you're doing it well. I grew up on Zemeckis and Spielberg and people who believed that making things for everyone didn't have to mean it was stupid.
But did you think Community was that hamburger?
Sadly enough, yes. I actually thought that I was. I think in the third season you can see me start to go, never mind. Just give me a good review in the Times. First and second season, having learned from my mine and Schraub's Creation Channel 101, I learned to always keep things modular. I think that good TV should be like crack, in that every rock gets the job done. Yes, you're meant to keep smoking it, and there is a difference between a one rock experience and an overall crack experience.
Right. So you weren't really making burgers at all. You were making crack.
I mean, that's the goal in TV. Crack, cigarettes, pick your metaphor. I mean, it's not necessarily a healthy thing we're doing. It's a comfort thing. I mean, mac and cheese isn't healthy.
No, but crack is. Crack is
you.
Very comforting.
I mean, you should be watching Nova.
Yeah.
You should just you shouldn't be watching Joel McHale and a group of knuckleheads in a community college. But that being said, I mean, people work hard and they watch 6 hours of TV on average because they live in a giant concrete and steel honeycomb. So what else are you going to do? Go roller skating? I guess that's it. I guess I finished. That's the list. Watch TV or go roller skating. We live in an Orwellian system with a habit trail. Like, you can't go anywhere and do anything.
I feel like
rock climbing.
I think you just pitched a show.
Orwellian habit trail.
That's great.
I think it's like on television you're engaged in the pacification of the masses, but I think that the masses need to be pacified. They deserve it. They deserve it. I think that if you pacify them well, you can clap yourself on the back and go, I'm a good pacifier. I did good.
Well, let me ask you,
I got sucked on.
Man, metaphors are flying. In terms of like making this next perfect television show, your mainstream hamburger crack show, you got ideas?
Yeah, I think that first of all, the idea is not the important thing. I think my idea is to have less ideas, because I want to be successful in television. I want to. I turned off 90% of my brain when I said, what if a guy went to community college and blah, blah, blah. You know, for the first season of Community, I was able to disguise myself as a person that just wanted to make television and do a good job. And slowly I kind of like got itchy, you know, like you do in a wool sweater, and kind of I felt like we were going to get canceled, and then I started farting around.
With farting around,
like the paintball episode, you can see the end of the first season.
You just started layering things. I mean, the obsessiveness that went into layering those episodes is pretty astounding.
Yeah.
And you're saying that's a negative part of your personality.
Well, it's a TV incompatible part of my personality.
Too many ideas.
I mean, I grew up on shows that fly in the face of that, though. All in the Family, Taxi, Cheers, especially the first two of those, really acknowledged the fact that there were human beings on this stage, even though there was a laugh track, heaven forbid, you know, they were grounded characters that you really believed were there, which is what you do when you go see a play. I mean, we're 5,000 years into live studio audiences.
Right.
We've only been doing single camera comedy like Arrested Development and stuff for a couple years.
So you're saying you want to do a show with grounded human characters with a full range of emotions?
Yeah, and possibly multi-camera, just to prove that it's not cancer. You know, it doesn't have to be. TV and all of its ugliness can be a beautiful thing if you're just proud of it.
Dan Harmon, ladies and gentlemen.
Don't move, because we have saved the best for last. James Cameron graced the stages of AOTS, and he had such a great time, he actually came back for more. I know. Find out why when we return.
You thought AOTS was over? Well, you thought wrong. We're celebrating the greatest moments in Attack's history all January, hosted by none other than Mr. Chris Hardwick. Tune in weeknights at 7 on G4.
Yeah, like any Attack of the show, we laughed a little, we cried a little, and we even learned something. What'd you think, Woz?
Hey, Woz.
Well, congratulations, everybody. We did it.
Yeah. Wow. You son of a bitch, I wasn't gonna do this.
Don't cry. We did do it, man. We did it together.
Hey, you came back. Thank you for that. When mega blockbuster director James Cameron visited our studios, he was thrilled to discover that he could bash Drunkle Ted with a folding chair and also talk in depth on an uber nerd level about the 3D cameras he developed for the film Avatar. Note that he developed. He even offered to come back and bring the cameras with him. But when we called to book him on the show again, this was amazing. The studio informed us there was no way they could let us get a look at that camera. No one gets to see those cameras. No way that is, until James Cameron called him and said, hey, that's my camera, ass munch, and I said I would bring it, and I'm bringing it, and then you're fired, and I'm going to rehire you, and I'm going to fire your ass again.
My next guest, he didn't invent 3D films, but he made them worth watching. Please welcome back to the show the visionary director of Avatar. Ladies and gentlemen, James Cameron is here.
Jim Cameron. Hey, Jim, remember me? You owe me an autograph. I guess. Oh, no.
That's the red blue. That's right. Okay, so, again, pardon my ignorance when it comes to 3D. I mean, you're the master on all this stuff. The top guy shoots the red and the bottom shoots the blue? Or how does...
I think you know my opinion on the red-blue
I saw what you did to Drunkle
system.
Ted. Yeah.
Exactly. You look pretty good with the camera.
Thank you very much.
You got potential.
I held that thing with more care than I held my newborn nephew.
Well, you know, how many babies are there in the world, and how many
Bruises
of these?
heal on
Come
babies.
On, I rest
this
my
thing,
case.
yeah,
exactly.
So this is one of the Cameron Pace rigs. What's this particular rig called? Do you know?
Well, you know, we call this a beam splitter rig or a mini beam splitter rig, and it's set up inverted so that we can use it handheld. It can go on a steady cam like this or whatever. You know, this particular rig, different camera sensor and different lens, but this rig was used on Avatar, and I did a lot of handheld shots on Avatar.
And this was something that was created for
the movie. Yeah, exactly. I mean, we had been working on the Fusion camera system prior to that for about 7 years, and then the final configuration, you know, which this is, was made for the movie.
And now, whenever I see, like at CES, people were showing off 3D cameras, 3D camcorders, 3D everything, and it's always this side-by-side lens configuration.
It's a huge mistake. You see, they're making the same mistake that we made back, you know, 8, 9 years ago, which is, oh, you just put two cameras side by side and you've got it. Well, human vision works that way, but when you're watching a movie, it can't work that way, because you can't adjust the stereo space after it's baked into the image when it's been shot by the camera guys a year earlier or whatever, and it'll rip your eyes out of your head if you try to shoot everything with the two lenses side by side. So the beam splitter allows you to essentially have the two lenses go inside each other, you know, so that you can get that interocular distance down to a much smaller
Which means
distance.
you can decide where that 3D point is going to be, that focal point, how things are going to jump out.
Yeah, it's how much depth.
How much depth is
yeah, right. It's how much depth. And by reducing the depth as you get closer to a person, let's say in a close-up, it actually makes it watchable, which is the trick to doing smooth 3D for movies, where you have to cut from one thing to another, from a close-up to a wide shot or back from a wide shot to a close-up. It all has to be, the stereo space has to be managed based on how far the camera is away from the subject.
Or else it'll be jarring, and then someone's getting vomit on the back of their head from the guy behind them in the theater.
Exactly.
So we have the camera on top, camera on bottom, and what other special hardware wizardry is going on here?
It's all made possible by this a 50-50 mirror. You know, it's like a trick mirror. It's called a beam splitter. And by moving, like this camera will move back and forth. I'm going to do it by hand here because this is not energized.
And Mr. Cameron, please be careful. This is very expensive.
This is my baby. I get to do this. So if you, I don't know how well you can see this, but this camera's sliding back and forth. That adjusts your interocular distance of the two lenses. But it also can change angle as it's moving. It's got like it's 2 degrees or 3 degrees of freedom here, and that allows you to control your convergence, which is where you're looking within the frame, where the sweet spot of the 3D is. And it's a 9-axis motion control system, silent, fast, and it weighs 28 pounds.
It's incredible. And both cameras have to be doing the same things in terms of zoom and focus and whatnot at the same time, right? So you've got hardware to control that?
Yeah, so these lenses have to be, they're all driven by servos. The zoom, focus, iris, everything's driven by servos, and they have to be finely calibrated to each other, so they're doing exactly the same thing at the same time.
I held this thing for 5 seconds to tape the intro before the show.
Try shooting a movie with it.
I mean, yeah. Did your camera guys just hate you by the end of this project?
I was the camera guy.
Did you really handle this thing?
Yeah. I operated all the handheld shots. The only thing I didn't do was Steadicam, because Steadicam is I have a great deal of respect for the art of Steadicam.
I have a new deal of respect for you, sir, because I could not hold that thing for 15 seconds. That was quite the burden, as light as the rig is. So.
Well, the good thing about it is, as a director, you don't have a choice. Once the camera's on your shoulder, you're going to do the scene.
You got to go, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so you can take this rig, snap it off, throw it on your shoulder.
Yeah, sure. Do you want to do that? I can show you what it looks like.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Need a little help here.
Hop on in, guys.
All right, so.
Ready?
Okay.
This is like indie pit crew stuff here.
All right.
All right.
So Nathan's going to snap on the shoulder pad. That's really
please
just
don't end up on break.com. Everything that's happening right
there.
There we go. Okay, so that is it. Now you're
Now we don't have. Here's our grips. This is configured more or less the way it was on Avatar.
And you've got controls there for your fingers.
Yeah,
as well?
I've got my zoom control is a thumb toggle over on this side, so I can set my focal length, my size, and you can. It's really nicely balanced.
Yeah.
You can tilt up, tilt down. If you tilt way down, then I'll usually go to that kind of.
And you'll grab it there?
Yeah.
I feel like you're about to shoot a bolt of plasma at me, though. Like, this is...
Everybody back!
Yeah, exactly.
Nobody move!
So, I mean, what grueling shoot day-wise, was there a particular take that was just damn near impossible to hold this camera and get it going?
I think running with it is the hardest thing, and there's a scene where Jake, or actually where the troopers are running down the ramp of the shuttle, and I was running down with them. By about the 3rd take, I was ready to call. That last take looked pretty good.
That one's good enough. Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm thinking, piece of we'll fix it in post.
I hope that I hope this isn't impossibly rude, but a rig like this, I know these cameras run at least on this particular rig, they're like 30 grand each. With the technology, the software, I'm told there's a miniature PC in there to handle the syncing of the 2 cameras.
Oh yeah, and there's a bunch of stuff you're not seeing where they control the interocular and convergence from off.
So ballpark me. If I were to take this one off the lot right now, what are we talking for this rig?
Well, the prototypes cost more than the production models now, but they're up there, and they vary they vary depending on exactly what they can do.
When someone says they're up there, that means I can't afford it. I'll stop asking.
Exactly.
Now, James,
think a couple of Ferraris.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, right.
Then I won't vacation in Cabo for that week. So you have the rig here. This is Gadget Prawn, so we like to assign a rating to some things. The camera, the technology.
Nathan,
sounds impressive. You guys want to take the camera?
Yeah. So Nathan is going to just hold the camera so we can all admire it.
Yeah, so the camera is, to say the least, impressive. I appreciate the walkthrough, but most camcorders we see these days, they have features like smile detection. They can take high megapixel still frames.
Smile detection.
Oh, is it? Okay, well, even with that, this doesn't have direct to YouTube upload. There's features that I like.
We'll work on that.
So again, and it's a little heavy.
Off?
It's a little heavy, it's a little pricey, so it is points off. So we're going to give it a 2 out of 5, which is a good rating for new technology.
Chair, please.
Absolutely.
Thank you. What was that rating?
5 out of 5. Give it a 5 out of 5. 15 out of 5.
Yes.
There we go.
Now you're talking.
Thank you, Nathan, for showing off the rig. Appreciate it. James Cameron and Case Camera, thank you guys for being here.
Well, I hope your head doesn't hurt from all the smart we just poured into it. If it's still bothering you later, then try making some fart jokes, and that should alleviate the pressure on your brain. That's what we always did here on Attack of the Show. Thanks for watching, and thanks to all the smart, super amazing, and innovative people who've stopped by our studios over the year to help class things up around the joint, and thank you for appreciating it. I miss you already.